This guy just wanted to say Q and kill, so he blocked my first video. It's 4:02, September 7th. Yeah, some guy just wanted to say Q and kill, so he actually blocked the first video I tried to make. I don't know why he wanted to say it, but he wanted to say it. But yeah, so the Q and kill, what these terrorists are doing, that I'm a victim of as well. And they may not kill people, they may do it with other people. I'm not sure. It's one of the ways they attempt murder, but they definitely coerce crimes with it. So they train people armed with weapons to these neurophysiological cues. They may have been working towards this too. So they train people these neurophysiological cues. They train these people armed with weapons to these cues and tell them to respond to these cues, is the vibe I'm getting. And they train them that they're natural readings, but they're really manufactured readings. Or they train them to natural, but then they also don't tell them they know how to mimic the natural with implantable devices. And then they're training them to when they see certain Q, X, Y, and Z, it means they're withholding, it's discomfort, they're lying, or they're angry, or this or that. And then they train them to enroll you in underground experiments or commit a crime or potentially even kill you, depending on the circumstance, maybe. So that's the Q and kill. So they train people these manufactured cues, and maybe they train them in natural and unnatural is my theory, but they know how to mimic the natural with implantable devices that they don't tell them about. And then maybe they hold them hostage, do their covert interrogations, then they claim they're lying, or what they'll do is they'll ask them a question, manufacture a cue that sends the signal to the guy monitoring the cues that they're, quote, lying, and they manufactured that cue to sell that lie. And then the guy responds with a weapon, whether an illegal underground experiment for abuse, punishment, or even murder. So that's a piece of it. So to summarize, there are people trained to these neurophysiological cues that mean X, Y, and Z, such as they're lying, they're uncomfortable, they're defensive, what have you. Some are trained to the natural ones and the natural readings. Some will train them to the natural readings and mimic these cues, or know how to manufacture the cues to where they look natural and trick these people. Another thing they'll do is they'll train them from the get-go to these manufactured cues, but tell them they're natural when they're unnatural and they're manufactured, but they are tricked that they're actually they're actual natural cues, but they don't know that. And that's part of their hustle, how they try to coerce people to commit crimes and murder. So they'll, for instance, so during an interrogation that these new age guys are doing, is they'll ask them questions, and then while they're asking them questions, one of their little people will manufacture a cue that means he's lying or he's uncomfortable or defensive, or there's discomfort, and then they're trained when they see these cues to react with an underground experiment, an implantation weapon, a shocking of the heart, or shocking the genitals, the brain, enroll them in an illegal underground experiment, throw them into a bed. God knows what they're doing. Something of that nature. Not 100%. I'd explore more, but there's something of that nature they're doing with these neurophysiological cues. And they're little terrorists with their weapons and implantation weapons and underground experiment rings and little betting rings and what else? And they got, and they're satellite weapons too. So they got all sorts of weird shit they're doing. So that's the Q and kill, or Q and commit a crimes, made it up, but that's what I'll call it. But I made up the name Q and kill. But that's one of their tactics. So they may use it for different, maybe depending on the circumstance, there's different magnitudes of punishment and crime. So maybe some people they'll just abuse covertly with their implantable weapons. Some they'll enroll in the bed in an illegal underground experiment for crime and abuse. Some they may kill. So that's a key point. So that's another tactic. Weird.